Everyone, just introduce. I'm Ballard from Nine Lanterns. I'm a senior analyst there, and I predominantly work with our learning platforms and developing LMSs. I've been in quite a few projects with RTOs and training providers. I just want to talk a little on some of the challenges and some of the project work we're doing in that space. It's to do with enrolments, completions, and retentions. I'm getting the timer hasn't started.
Shady.
So hopefully this will tick over. So this is a bit of a, it's striking the right balance here. And I'm going to, I got asked to deconstruct it and think about it for the presentation. And I came up with the tortoise and hare. So that'll be the theme for the first few. And I'll go into how that sort of affects us as we're going through that. So the enrolment challenge is getting more people, getting more students. The marketplace is increasingly competitive for recruitment. So as we bring in a bigger diversity of students and populations, we start to look at different ways of how we can deliver to potentially larger groups, different audiences, and different learning challenges. So the hare gets off to a flying start. We are looking for people who can perhaps complete quicker. Quite often the technology is, can we get people through their course at a faster rate than previously? And not having people dwelling on particular topics for a long period of time. The retention challenge, the tortoise in this case, is looking at people who drop off. And that's where I'm going to look at a few of the challenges in this course, because drop-off rates are quite high in that space. I'll have a few stats on that later, but how do we keep people to go the distance and go the full way through their course? So, can we get the ideal student in this scenario? And the thing here is when we sometimes look at excellence in a kind of bad way that ends up with us standardising what we offer or standardising our assumptions of who learners are, rather than excellence that celebrates diversity. So as I said, currently, based on the VETMIS data, 50% of apprentices don't finish the course that they start, and about a third of those drop out in their first year. So attrition and retention is quite a big challenge for these groups. And when we look at technology, are we designing the stick or something that very much resembles a stick here? And there's a lot of study that suggests that attrition rates are actually higher in online courses. So we introduce the technology and it actually reinforces that problem rather than helping us to solve it. So that's the kind of challenge that I'm looking at when we're developing systems. When we look at perhaps arguments such as enjoyment, how do people enjoy their course? How will they choose their own pathways, choose their own learning options, which are a bit against perhaps trying to get people through quickly in that sort of standardised way. And the softer persuasion we tend to use there is engagement. We start to look at how can we measure engagement, how can we design for engagement. And sometimes we imagine that engagement might be a choice. So learners are kind of choosing that, which again can be a bit misleading when we're designing systems. So the biggest causes that are listed are quite often actually a lack of support, both from employers, from the institution, and quite often once the instructional design, the course design is complete, the actual ongoing support once the course has started is not perhaps as planned for as well as it could be. So when we're thinking about designing that, designing our courses, we need to build in perhaps mentoring networks, helping employers to actually engage their learners with the program if there's employee placements, tutorial supports, how do learners get that, and increasingly I guess peer support networks for that. I got a few case studies that will reinforce that. The end of our case studies suggests that when they reviewed this, that employers are the biggest reason. Most people don't have time, they don't have, the work isn't matched to the study, these are high cause of dropout, and the lack of communities once the course has started. Massey University did one using pre-tests before a course starts to start to align people to tailored and organised support and communities, and making high use of video to bridge that gap. But kind of personalised videos was the goal they were looking at. Project I worked on in the UK before I came out here looked at individual learning plans providing the tutorial support. And in our first year, we actually managed 92% retention, up from the previous 60%, similar to the data we saw earlier for first years. And lastly, there's quite a lot of research on high impact engagement activities. Again, having group projects, having communities of support, and having projects that tie together across units and across study areas. Kind of capstone project idea is quite crucial there. So I haven't mentioned technology yet, but this is where we start to dive into that, looking at learner journeys. Most of these will be digital touch points in an institution now, enrolments, registrations. But our learners come to it with entirely different pathways. They've all got different backgrounds, different models when they're interfacing with the student systems. So this is the kind of stuff that I spend a lot of my time doing, integrating with the student admin systems, integrating with analytics, prediction engines, richer sets of course content, authoring tools, as well as enabling far more use of cloud, social media style integrations. E-portfolios is an area where we're focusing a lot of effort for the capstone project style ideas, where people can actually build up video, image, evidence of work they're doing and start to associate that across different units, across different subject spaces. And the area I'm just starting out with is looking at the Tin Can Experience API. Can we capture a broader range of learner experiences, social interactions, bring those together in badges, quantified self, different ways to look at what is effective, what isn't for engagement. So, thank you.
Excellent, well done.